So, hey
Alrighty.
everybody. Oh, cool. I am Superphiz from the Eastacre community, also a friend of POAP. And today is our third POAP community call. Um, and we're really excited to have you guys here. We have an exciting agenda, some stuff that I want to go over. This call lasts about an hour. Um, we do welcome speakers, but in general, before we welcome you to speak, we would like to know you first. And so, if you stick around after this first hour, the second hour is very much a what you might call a free for all, where we just sort of hang out. And if you'd like to speak in the future, stick around for that call, get to know us, and then we'll add you to the approved speakers list in the future. Um, so, with that said, let me see what's on the. Obviously, you guys are here. You're looking for a POAP. We do intend to deliver a POAP today. We're going to learn a little more about how that's going to unfold. Actually, Zero G's is here. So I heard just a few minutes ago that there may be some trouble with DGen. Is that? Do you know anything about that?
Hey, GM friends. Yeah,
Hello.
the degen is good to go. It's in the server, so we're set. There was a Discord kind of rugged us again, but as long we're just not able to invite into new servers right now. But yeah, that's that since it's already in, we're good to go.
Awesome, great. And so that is one of the current limitations of DGen. You guys have 100. You're in 100 servers, and you cannot add more until you get over some hurdle. Um, we were chatting with Isabel from POAP, and she was interested in connecting with you to see if she might be able to help resolve that. But we'll get there as we go in. So yeah, we are running DGen bot today. Um, that means that you earn the POAP for being in the call for enough time to actually be a participant. Um, One of the things that's difficult for me as a call host or as a friend of the community is people who contact after the call and they're often angry because they wanted the POAP and they didn't get it. Um, I would say it's generally poor form to demand a POAP, and I personally I block people or totally disregard people who demand a POAP from me. The service here is to help you to help you connect with the POAP community, not to hand you a POAP. And so um, that may not always be a perfect transaction, but as responsible community participants, uh, it's just one of those things you have to take in stride. So yeah, let's see. We're actually going to start today with the DGen bot discussion. So, Zero G's, one of the things we're working toward, one of the things that is important for this community call, actually, we should do introductions first, is to improve the standards that we deploy POAP with. So we're trying to raise the bar for everyone. Before we get too far, I'm going to run through the couple of official hosts that we have with us. Hello, Colfax.
What up? What up?
Tap.
What's up? Happy
Defi
Friday.
dude. Hey.
Hey, hi everyone.
And Mr. Mojo the intern.
Good to see everybody.
We also have a couple of special guests today. Zero G's from Bankless DAO. He represents DGen. Isabel from POAP. She is a good bridge between our community and the POAP company.
Hey everyone.
We also have Frankie, who is a curator.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
And some other POAP / Eastacre representatives, Unvetica, Sam, the Squanch, and Kevster. So welcome to everyone.
Hey, everyone.
So
Hello.
with that, I want to turn it over to one of the most important thing for me is that we help the community raise the standard of distributing POAPs. Because for me as an issuer, it is very frustrating to try to give good community content and then after that have a bunch of messages saying, "Where's my POAP? I didn't get my POAP." Silly things like you're disgracing your family by not giving me a POAP, and shame on you and your future is desolate because you didn't give me a POAP. Those things are so foolish, and there really needs to be a technological solution to overcome those barriers. And Zero G's has worked with the DGen bot, and I'd love for him to just kind of give you an overview of what it is and how it works. And we may do this overview for 10 weeks straight, just because we want to make sure that information is out there.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Yeah, DGen, it's a bot that we built over in Bankless DAO's Discord when we were initially starting up, and wanted a way to distribute these to people in the audience without have them all get poached with claim codes in the forums and such. So we built this with the hopes of making it easier both for the event coordinators, so that they know that anybody who's in the event is getting their call, their POAP for the call, and then also uh, bringing that value back to the attendance portion, where people have to be in attendance to get eligibility for a POAP. So just really trying to make it restore that value use to the whole protocol. Yeah, so that's been pretty exciting to see how it's iterated. And right now, like Superphiz says, we're in 100 servers in the ecosystem, and waiting for Discord to let us get the invites back up. I know a lot of folks joined the product support server last week, so really happy to have you all there, and we promise it'll happen soon. We did have an issue with the DMs portion again here in Discord. So that's why we were kind of concerned last week about distributions, but it looks like in the end everything worked perfectly, and that everybody who was eligible got their POAPs. So soon we'll be reopening those invites, and instead there'll be some changes to the way that it will distribute, but it won't be automatic DMs to everybody, most likely. So that POAP claim command will work.
Awesome.
Yeah, we also just to point out how it works a little. It the whole mechanism is really geared towards preventing farming and poaching of various POAP codes and claim links, and really try to promote attendance and participation. So if a claim code wasn't made available to somebody, it's likely that it was picking up on some sort of behavior that triggered the anti-farming. And really, we just want to, take a look and see if you really feel like you deserved it, you were there for a while, like quite a while, and participated, and then maybe reach out. But like Superphiz was saying, it's kind of harsh to demand something when it's like a nice, awesome community service trying to build community. So love it.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I really feel like DGen brings a ton of value to POAP, because one of the most important and difficult things is getting those individual claim codes into the hands of actual participants. And on one hand, like, I don't blame people for botting or farming or using 16 different accounts to claim, because it's a fun thing. Like, you want POAPs. But on the other hand, I feel like the community has a responsibility to limit that distribution to people who are legitimate participants, and that can be really difficult. So DGen does a great job of bridging that gap. I would love to see similar style products. So it's a great start. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah. And if you are trying to farm POAPs, make sure you let us know that you didn't get it to work, and we'll make sure to enhance our anti-farming techniques to reach out back in the future.
Yeah,
Learn from the farmers.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Sybil resistance schemes like Bright ID and Proof of Humanity to reduce that. But I also know that POAP has to choose its own direction. with that, we had. So I'm actually, I'll just let Colfax take this. We wanted to talk about being as inclusive as we can in this call. And I think Colfax has this all figured out.
Yeah, I just want to talk about that for a second. I guess naturally speaking, after sort of the idea of wanting to claim POAPs and combating farmers, like as a community, in order to make sure POAPs get in the right hands of people, we are probably going to make mistakes on not being able to issue POAPs to even some honest people, as Superphiz is saying. And so we appreciate your bearing with us with that. On that exact note, like as a community, we do want to be as inclusive as possible. And so even if it might not feel that way, if like you missed a POAP in a call, that's certainly not how we want you to feel. And so we want to just sort of have a refocused initiative on inclusivity. And we've been talking in the background about how POAP really is a global community. And so we want to reach as many people as possible and have as many people actually be able to participate in the calls as possible. So we are planning on next week actually translating the call in real time. So having a bilingual co-host that can translate the call into another language. And we want to hear from you guys for what language you guys would want the call to be translated into, because we want to make sure that we can reach as many people as possible. So if you guys are listening and you speak a different language and you prefer or you'd love the call to be translated, I'm dropping a form right now in the community calls channel. And please fill out and please specify what language you think you'd really like for us to include.
To be clear, the form that he's dropping has nothing to do with POAP claim. So there's no, and that's a promise. I know sometimes people say that and they're like, oh, that was actually the way to do it. There really is nothing in this form about ways we could identify you for POAP. We just want to know what language you speak. I love that Colfax said we'll have an interpreter next week, because I'm like, holy crap, that's a short time frame. But yeah, it is a sincere intention, because we recognize if you're here and maybe you don't understand everything that you're saying. Maybe you're just here for the POAP. But the funny thing about that is you're in the right place, because we are all here for POAP. And if we can connect with you in a better way, then we desperately want to do that. I honestly, recognize there are additional barriers, like some people who have difficulty interpreting English now won't recognize the need to get to that form, but it's a step in the right direction, we think, and we really want to improve our inclusivity.
Yeah, I
So,
totally agree with that. The irony is not lost on me that we're offering an English form to request other languages, but we're working on it. We're doing our best. And yeah, lofty goal for interpreter for next week, but I don't know, we're striving for it. So we'll see. We hope we can be able to do that.
I believe in you. This is kind of a quickly evolving call. Like we have really worked hard to iterate quickly and make it as inclusive as we can be. Speaking of which, Tap and Isabel up next. I say that. Isabel, say your name.
Hi, my name's Isabel. What's going on?
Say your name. Oh, she is here. She's muted.
I'm muted.
We can hear her. I can hear you.
I can hear her, yeah.
You can hear me?
What?
Okay.
Maybe I've muted her.
Oh no, that's a big
Superphiz, what did I ever do to you?
Or
I had her muted.
Wow.
Teacher. Sorry, I can hear you now.
Wow. Okay, I'm Superphiz. What did I ever do to you?
I don't know. I had hard feelings over something. I don't know.
It's probably that one time I didn't get you your POAP.
Yeah. I did. I told you. It's funny. There's a story, like there's in one of the Discords I was in, there was this POAP distribution, and I felt like I was eligible for it, and I didn't get it. And as terrible as it is, like 6 months later, I still hold a grudge against that person. I'm like, how could you not get me my POAP? But at the same time, like, I don't know. I've been nice about it. So Isabel.
Yeah,
and
hey.
I'm sorry, Isabel and Tap. My bad. Take it away.
That's all right. Hey, yeah, I think, and I think twofold, which is like some of this might stem from last week, but I'm incredibly big on diversity and inclusion, making sure that we're doing the right things. I think a combination of a few things, which to keep in mind with POAP, and just want to keep this open, is I think last week someone came on during the call we hadn't spoke with before, and they asked about Farsi language and then why they weren't getting POAPs. And so a little bit of context there is like, I have friends that, speak Farsi, are of Iran descent, and then also have previously worked in cybersecurity. So I think a combination of a few things is like POAPs don't always get approved is one of the reasons. But the other thing I mentioned was like, hey, it might have something to do with US sanctions, just knowing that Farsi is the native language of Iran. I want to clear a little bit of that up in regards to like, hey, first off, like my intention wasn't to profile. My intention more was just like observational, based on experience. So just want to apologize community wise if like anybody interpreted that the wrong way. It wasn't really the intention, but I do think there was, and this might be someone that was separate. There was a conversation on Twitter. Just asking about like, hey, why a POAP wasn't approved, and
Right.
some other details there. So, with that, just wanted to bring it up, or I brought it up with POAP as well. Is like, hey, there are times where like certain things might or might not get approved for a multitude of different reasons. And so Isabel's on to kind of like talk a little bit about that if you can help provide guidance. I don't know if that's a good
Yeah.
intro.
No, absolutely. Top. I think that's a very good intro, and thanks for kind of introducing the situation. I think maybe the first thing I'll say on the topic is that POAP, very much we're a global community. We kind of believe in POAP as a fundamentally enabling mechanism for all of humanity, and so we obviously want everyone from every imaginable background to be able to use the protocol for whatever their ends are, as long as those ends are fundamentally honest and good intentioned. Now, there is a reality, which is that as we've kind of grown and had to take on some of the other general burdens and liabilities that come with being a U.S. company, we have become subject to a general sanctions policy, meaning that there are certain things, particularly with regards to POAP issuers from certain countries, and this kind of is applicable particularly to people physically located in particular countries, not so much to people of certain cultural backgrounds and not so much to people from certain communities. So it's kind of people located in, there's a list of countries on the OFAC sanctions list that we're not able to let issuers that are physically based there do POAPs because currently, our bank seems to view this as a kind of some mechanism of commercial activity. Now, we don't charge anything for this. We disagree with the policy pretty intensely and are trying to see if we can get a legal opinion otherwise. But at the moment, that is kind of like the reality of the situation, which is that if we decide to disagree with our bank on the topic, we're going to have some substantial difficulty operating the protocol for anyone. And I think that down the line, a big part of the reason that we've kind of established the separation between POAP Inc., the entity, and POAP, the protocol, which eventually intends to kind of be a more community-governed structure, is specifically for this reason of censorship resistance and needing a certain level of independence at the protocol level to allow the protocol to be used the way it needs to be used. Now, the case with this specific issuer and the specific situation this last weekend had a couple of other, let's say, parameters and considerations that are maybe important to note. So, as a result of this sanctions thing, right? There are certain flags that, as we are doing content moderation, will generally result in at the very least a request for information, right? And this includes yes, anything that seems to be indicating something may be based in an area we're not allowed to do business. It may include things that are related to irresponsible distribution methods. May relate to anything that looks like it may be relating to some kind of a scam relating to DeFi or otherwise promoting, let's say, unsavory activity, right? And so there's kind of a large list of those things, and we try to be as impartial as possible, not rejecting those things outright, but simply requesting more information from the issuer. And with regards to the situation this weekend, this was someone that had posted seemingly on the forum that they were able and willing to provide this information. And unfortunately, when asked to provide said information, they kind of got somewhat, let's say, defensive or how to put it, I think some level of upset, right? And I kind of do understand completely I empathize with the fact that it is difficult to be asked for providing certain information that maybe people don't generally provide, right? on the other hand, it's like, unless we have confirmation that you're based somewhere that we're able to do business, unfortunately, we cannot kind of do any sort of. We can't actually do POAP drops. Sorry, guys. Having DMs is a little bit distracting. And while this was happening, as we were kind of having this exchange, trying to collect information from the issuer to see if we were able to serve them as we are supposed to, we kind of see that there's activity on Twitter, let's say bashing the protocol in general and kind of otherwise being rather unfriendly. And for us at POAP, we have a fairly low tolerance for any sort of like call it unfriendly behavior or call it unsavory behavior from people who are trying to use the protocol for their own goods, which we kind of maintain and do a fairly hard amount of work on making this community something that everyone can use. And it's like usually once things seem to get to ad hominem attacks on the internet, that's kind of where we tend to draw the line of like, this is not someone who is going to be reasoned with. And unfortunately, we're not able to be a part of this interaction anymore, right? And that's a policy that we tend to maintain for the benefit of our curation body that, like, frankly, it's, Superphiz to kind of make a little bit of a parallel here. And I'm not sure it's completely, that it completely works, but I think it kind of works. The comments that you've gotten, being a POAP issuer that won't give POAPs to particular people, and like people are like, shame on your family, shame on your dog, shame on like your whole bloodline, and it's insane, right? Because these things, like especially if you're constantly exposed to them, can make you feel genuinely quite bad. And so for the sanity and like mental well-being of our team, we tend to have fairly hard boundaries in terms of the way that we accept issuers, especially making their cases, right? Where if you are able to make a good, strong argument for why you should be able to do the drop or why our curation policy is not something that should apply to restricting you from usage of the protocol, that's one thing, and we're happy to kind of have that conversation. The second that the conversation turns any sort of aggressive or any sort of insulting, that's usually when there is no further conversation to be had. So I think, Tap, basically to kind of close up the loop there, it's like there was a couple of different elements to what had happened this weekend. And on the one hand, it has to do with, yes, the actual sanctions case. On the other hand, it has to do with, yes, our actual process for reviewing petitions. And on the third, it's how we interact with our community. And I think it's important to remember that all of these things are generally taken into account. And at the end of the day, I think we handled it, let's say, as best as we could at the time for the first for the first time that this kind of thing had happened. It probably wasn't the best way of doing it, but nevertheless, in the future, we're going to try to do better in the future.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. Thanks for clarifying. I think
That's super helpful, Isabel. Thank you. That was really helpful.
Thanks so much, guys.
It's so important to point
thanks,
out
Isabel.
that we, especially like in this community call and POAP in general, we welcome everyone. Like we don't discriminate, gender, race, location. We want everyone to participate with POAP. And so especially like on this call, you're extremely welcome and we're glad you're here. The only limitations end up being with POAP as a business and the locales that they are allowed to issue POAPs. That's the only hang up, and it's not something that any of us have chosen or anything that we like. It is simply U.S. sanctions that, regardless of how we feel about our government or your government, it doesn't matter. Like we have to follow the rules in order to play the game. So with that said, no matter how involved you are able to be in POAP, we are delighted that you're here to learn about it because we really think that in time these things will change and the governments are likely to be, gosh, I can't speak for governments, likely to be more inclusive and enable more participation. So thanks both to Tap and Isabel for kind of highlighting.
One other thing not to be forgotten about is just how you treat people when I'd say this not only to POAP but the greater NFT community. Because I think you experience the Superphiz, I experience it, people coming at you aggressively. I understand the POAP employees have to have hard skin because
Curators
being
have feelings too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Curators have feeling. We need to get you a sticker for your car.
That's I think mostly
I love it.
everyone here that I know thrives on positive energy. There are none of those like old curmudgeon people who are like, screw off, I don't care what you say. Like we are all a bit of do-gooder by nature, and we thrive on healthy interactions and kindness. And at the same time, when people act otherwise, I don't have a lot of tolerance. I'm very quick to shut people down and block them or ban them, just because I don't have time or energy. And I will be honest, 99% of my interactions with other people are just wonderful, and I'm glad to interact with people. But you can see, like, it's those negative ones that kind of needle me, that I think we can all do better.
Oh,
Hey,
absolutely.
and
It's
Yeah.
like definitely a death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of situation, right? Like, if you're having those interactions every once in a while, you're going to have an unfortunate interaction with a person. Like, it happens that way sometimes, and that's just how it goes. But especially if you're kind of dealing with people who are unreasonably angry on a day-to-day basis, I think anyone who's worked in like a any kind of frontline work directly with customer support or anything like this knows this, that it can be a real drain.
It might be worth
Yeah.
saying it might be worth just saying for everyone on this call that if you want to get your POAP, you just being kind and nice to the POAP team in every
it goes a long way.
interaction will
It
go
goes
a
a long
long
way.
ways.
Yeah. I want to even
Hey,
broaden that. Like, that is just a general good principle of life. I mean,
Yeah.
I think sometimes in these online communities, it's easy to forget the fact that there's humans behind all of these usernames and all of these request forms. And so just never, and even like in customer service too, on the phone or like at restaurants and things like that, just never forget that like there's a human on the other end of the conversation, and it's best to be nice to everybody.
Yes, thank you. That is actually a perfect segue, I think, to the next topic. And Tap has experienced something that most of it's experienced. We don't read. Like, we want POAPs, we want to participate, we want to engage, but please don't slow us down with words that we have to read. Come on, right? And so that's literally a discussion we had. We're like, we need less words. We just want POAPs. So that kind of gets us into the discourse. And Tap, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I think good transition is, first off, if you're someone that requested a POAP this week and you didn't get any, join the club. I kind of laugh, but in regards to like POAPs with curation and whatnot, it's like, yeah, you do have to understand there is a high volume of requests, right? That they're processing and making sure that it meets the quality and isn't just a huge amount of farming going on in regards to creation and whatnot. So good job on the curation team. One thing I didn't realize is I read some of the documents, but not all of them, as far as how to do it. So I was like, oh, every time I need to go into discourse and I need to create this thing in addition to creating my POAP. So the first thing just want to highlight is, with the new process, the process is you make the request via poap.xyz/admin to create your POAP, and then you wait 24 hours. If you don't give it by the 24-hour time period, then you go into discourse to request I forget what it's called, an appeal or whatever.
So yeah, but maybe if I can lend a little bit of context around that, like the basic idea here is that our curation team is reviewing these requests. Like there's like it's like a real time. Literally, there's like people on staff that are looking at these things, doing background checks on people. It's a little bit nuts, like the things that we do to get POAPs dropped. And usually, like what happens is that if it's been more than 24 hours, it's like a couple of people have looked at this and something about it seems off. Right. And usually that's the point where it's worth taking the time to come and introduce yourself in the forum. Let us know about what you're doing, why you believe that this deserves to be commemorated, and any other information that would be useful for the curation team in kind of making a decision that this is something that is in fact a completely legitimate use case. Because oftentimes it's just a matter of like not having clear information provided in the description or in the kind of ancillary links and such, so people can't really tell if it's proper use or not, right?
we're also at
Yes.
like this cutting edge of POAP where people are imagining new use cases every day. And so maybe you have a new and novel use case and you're asking for POAPs, but you're not hearing anything back. Maybe the curators are trying to figure out how it's going to work. And by going to the discourse and kind of sharing your plan, you can be a trailblazer for a new way to use or distribute POAP, which is really exciting for all of us.
Hey, and just adding on that a little bit more is being thoughtful up front on how you're using it. Like Discord members, 5,000, that's a good example where like Discord is full of bots that's just going to get farmed, right? So just being upfront about like, okay, it's for this event. Here's how we're going to focus on how many, the right amount of people that actually are participating are going to get it. Having that thought into it up front is going to help when you provide that as well as a part of your mint, and then including that stuff in the design. So
it would be fun to have a flow chart that is like, first the POAP design is important. And maybe that flow chart says, you get a point for the date, you get a point for a beautiful design, you get a point for, naming your event on it. And then like the next stage of the flow chart is, how are you distributing? Are you using dgen? Are you using POAP.delivery? Are you handing them out in person? Are you backing a truck up to the Discord and dumping them on the floor? Like having a visual flow chart. That's how I do it. I mean, what's wrong with that?
Hey, Superphiz, I just wanted to add, it's prof order. I had a situation this week where the curation team reached out to me and actually suggested, hey, with this type of POAP, you might want to try this method of delivery instead. And it turned out like, I ended up being able to say, hey, well, we chose this way because XYZ. But it was really helpful, and I just wanted to pass that along to Isabel that that was unexpected and very helpful. And then also that it took me a couple tries to actually get into discourse, the POAP discourse. I was having some challenges, and I think it was just browser related or desktop versus mobile related or something. So if anyone is having that challenge, instead of doing mobile, try your laptop or desktop and try something different, because it might just be the reason that you're not be able to even get in there to find out what's going on. That's it.
Yeah, thanks. It is.
I'm glad
one of the loopholes from the past 6 months of POAP has been people not getting feedback, and I know that's frustrating. We all know that's frustrating, and so the fact that you were able to close that loop is very healthy. And Frankie, I think I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, Professor Werder, I was just saying I'm glad the information was helpful.
Yes, it definitely was. Thank you. Oh, I mean, it was you.
It was me.
It was. I just realized, like, oh, and it was him. So thank you. I appreciated that.
Points for Frankie.
This dump truck idea still got me thinking, though. Backing up a dump, that just still has me as an idea.
Hey, I think it should be a meme, like the 3 different ways. Yep. And I bet someone on this call that's part of POAP-a-thon could do it while we're on the call. I don't have a prize for you, but
there are
jump trucks. Yes, I'm sure.
There are real instances of people requesting, 100 or 1,000 codes and getting those codes and taking them to a room full of people and just pasting the entire thing and saying, there you go. And it, from the perspective of fair delivery, that's something that makes all of us have nightmares at night, like just cringe.
Superphiz, you know what? So here's the thing. Those instances, and I can tell you exactly why we've become lately like such sticklers for how it is that you're delivering things. Because what happens is people go to this Discord where whoever pasted 1,000 codes. People start randomly claiming links, and like you wind up with, call it 30% of the links claimed. Some people start trying to claim POAPs and can't claim their POAPs. Those people get angry and they come to our Discord, they come to the direct messages of members of our team, they come to intercom and customer support, and are angry that they could not claim the POAP for this particular event. And we sit there like, guys, we don't know what you're talking about. Like, we have no involvement whatsoever with whatever just happened. But nevertheless, we wind up kind of on the receiving end of a variety of like vitriol as a result of this. And so we at some point had kind of like sit there and say, if you're going to be issuing POAPs, you need to do it responsibly, because it seems to create fire and chaos otherwise.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Isabel. I was thinking, like, as we're moving along, so one of the things that I'm feeling like is we're talking a lot to the community about things that we want you all to do better, things that we can do better. This is where I want to point out that the second half of this call, so in about 24 minutes, this call will end, and we'll transition into an open forum where everyone can participate, and that's an awesome time for people who haven't been heard yet to step up and say, well, you say you don't like it when we dump 1,000 codes in, but this is our perspective. Those are really valuable insights that we want. So I hope if you have time that you stick around for the second half, like open mic portion, because I think it'll be a lot of fun for all of us. So we've talked about discourse. The next thing we were going to hit is interesting design with Tap. Did you have ideas on that, Tap?
What are we talking about design-wise? Sorry. I prepared for all my other stuff today. So
no, you're fine. Do you know what I was thinking?
Last time though, I think it was DeFi dude had design, or more of it.
Yeah,
or what do you want to talk about?
DeFi dude had the POAPs designs of the week.
Yeah,
it
those
was
are
awesome.
awesome.
I did do that. Yep. I do have some more this week if we want to.
Oh, all right. You're saving me. You're saving me.
I mean, maybe not as good as last week, but I do have a few here. So, as always, can't really screen share, so I'm just gonna share some pictures. If you guys aren't already, the community, if you aren't in the community calls channel, make sure that's where you're hanging out. I do see people like talking in general, and some other channels, and just note for future, all the chat and everything is going to be in the community calls channel, and that's why I'll post some pictures here. So yeah, I've got like three or four this week, but one of them I came across, it was actually more for humor, I guess. Like the design is pretty cool. It's it's got the Discord colors and stuff, but it's basically I survived the Discord outage of 2022. I just thought it was kind of funny. The other day, Discord went down.
I got one of those. It was fantastic. Yes.
I didn't even know how you can get it. I wasn't sure, but I came across it. I thought it was funny. It looks cool, got the Discord colors and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it made me laugh. So thought it was worth sharing.
What's the right way to distribute something like that?
I mean, like Twitter POAPs is pretty common.
That's the way I got mine. It was a Twitter DM.
Also POAP, Isabella showed her a great way to like find the users that retweet and like, and I can't remember the tool.
There's a platform called CryptoSign, I think, and this is alpha for everyone on the POAP community call. But a platform called CryptoSign that you can basically have someone verify a wallet address to like a Twitter account, and so everyone who signs the document, right? It's kind of like it's a signature, and you can then cross-reference that with a list of people who liked or retweeted the tweet that you kind of put up, commemorating whatever event. And at that point, what you can do with that is set up a POAP delivery.
Is that the thing Mentor did?
I don't know what Mentor did. I think he did something else. No, his was something else, but probably it was a similar mechanism.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that is a great idea, because I look at these, Discord is out. Like, how do you distribute a POAP fairly for that? And so Twitter is a great idea. And I'm looking forward maybe to trying CryptoSign this week. So if anybody is going to distribute one of these event-based POAPs, I would love to get an to use CryptoSign to claim it. That just sounds like a fun way to get involved.
Do you have an idea on how you'd prefer us to say those kind of things so it doesn't come across as engagement farming? Because I know there's
Well,
probably a
hey,
balance to that.
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely. So, in fact,
Oh,
like the
sorry. Go.
best practices on that tend to be basically that you don't announce that you're doing a POAP for this before you do whatever it is that you're doing, right? So, like, if I do a tweet of some kind with like an article attached to it or something, and then I kind of take a snapshot at a certain time, and then I say after I take the snapshot that this is like that there's a POAP for everyone that did this, that's fine. If you say there's a POAP for everyone that's going to do this, that's not fine. Does that make sense?
Which is funny because you can be damn
Perfect.
sure that if Isabel tweets that I'm liking and retweeting it, like I don't care what it is.
Superphiz, like, you figured out how to game the mechanic.
And I think this is something really important the community understands, which is like, yeah, in the past you could promise POAPs. I think with doing anything, you have to be very careful on what expectations you set with the community. Because if you're promising them a POAP for anything and everything, that's like it's likely going to result in failure at some point in time. Right?
Well, yeah, and it's not unlikely, right, that if you've promised people a POAP, especially on Twitter, especially in a way that seems to indicate that most likely it's going to get farmed to death, there's a very, very high chance that you're going to have a hard time with like getting past the curation committee due to the fact that your thing is going to get farmed to death, right? So it's like announcing it, especially in public venue, like, you know, in written format somewhere on the internet. Great chance of a great way of making sure it doesn't happen.
Hey, I just wanted to say you have to like and share everything now. But also it's really good to see and hear from you guys. Tap, side conversation, I guess, but I was really happy to see the submissions over on POAPathon for my Tuesday puzzle. It's there's some really good ones in there. I'd like to talk to you after this just about how we settle up because the end of that contest, I think.
Oh, we're good. We'll talk
Speaking of
offline.
which, I don't know where we are in the agenda, but I would love to give Logic Beach a chance to talk about his Tuesday puzzle because it can only happen once, right? Like if we have a few weeks to plan, but there's only going to be one Tuesday puzzle. That's fun. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I made a post about it in the community calls channel, but I'll just read that post for that doesn't want to scroll up and look for it. I just said, hey, while we're here, bear with me while I show my next puzzle. There will be a POAP hidden in this puzzle. I got it created on POAPathon. That was my first POAP bounty, so that's cool. Really good submissions in there. Anyways, it is Tuesday, this February 22nd, 2022, at 22:22:22 UTC. I will release an NFT on a layer 2, probably Polygon, OpenSea. It's a 2-song EP called Bits, Zeros and Ones, which are base 2. You'll have to find the missing bits of a QR code to flip it, and the QR code is a private key to a wallet that has, I think, 10 leading zeros. Thanks, Superphiz, for mining that for me. The prize will start at 0.222, 18 decimal places ETH, and any NFT sells up to 2.222 ETH. I don't know if I wanted to sell the puzzle or just give it away, but I thought it might be cool to own that as an NFT. That's like how you enter, and it makes the prize pot go up, but I'm flexible on that metric. I don't know if anyways, I'd love your opinions on this. If you guys want to talk about it, please DM me. Yeah, that's it. I'm really excited about it. It's about a month from now, minus 6
Yeah, I was
days.
about to say, is it February 2nd or February 22nd? So it's
22nd, because
Okay,
that
so
is an actual Tuesday.
So it's
Yeah.
great. We have a lot of time to think about this and prepare for it. But I love it, the novelty of it, that it's only going to happen once. It's not like this can be replicated in a few weeks. So it's just a great chance to celebrate a calendar date. Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Logic Beach.
shilling it and giving me a spot. Yeah, I'm going to be sharing this and pumping it all at ETH Denver. That's kind of the reason I'm going. And just have fun. Thanks, guys.
So as we get through this, there are about 3 things that I'm interested in hitting. I do want to hit the Slido if we have chance. I'd like to mention Vitalik's Soulbound post. And if any of the other hosts have something they'd like to bring up, I want to make sure we get that in. So what do we think?
Why don't we hit the Slido for a couple questions first?
Let's do it. And so
And then, yeah, we should
hopefully,
definitely touch on Soulbound.
yeah, hopefully everybody's had access or a time to check out the Slido. We're going to use the same Slido deck call after call because I really want questions that build up initiative to get answered instead of just thrown away every week. So if you have a question, it doesn't get answered this week. Maybe it will get answered next week, but we're just going to work our way down. The top question. Hi, my question is whether in the future we can send the POAPs we have as a gift to others, or each of them is a personal symbol. And that's actually interesting because it's gonna get into Soulbound later. My current understanding is that if something like Soulbound gets incorporated into POAP, that, well, do we think, and I'll take a lot of opinions on this, do we think that all POAPs will be locked to one account, or do we think that some of them will adhere to that standard and some of them will be more flexible?
So I think for me at least, and this is something that is obviously big topic of open field discussion that is called more philosophical matter than anything else. From the standpoint that POAPs are NFTs and therefore do belong kind of to the people that have minted them, just purely from that angle, locking them to one account seems like it kind of goes somewhat against that, right? Because you'd have to violate someone's ability to move their property around at will. So that's, I think, like the one complication. I do see a world where potentially the fact that we're able to see who the first person who minted that POAP is, that's a valuable piece of information that can be used to kind of track whether or not this actually belongs to its original owner. And so therefore you kind of have this notion of POAPs as being, on the one hand, they are like aspects of your identity. On the other hand, they are collectibles. And when you're minting the NFT yourself and kind of keeping it, for your own personal use, that's more so, I think, that case with Soulbound, where this is like a reflection of your own history, where once you start getting into trading it around, at this point it's a collectible item commemorating something that you perhaps value but were not the first person involved in.
That's cool. And like, to bring up another possible reason why somebody would want to transfer POAP is I wonder, like, if somebody knows that their account is compromised and they want to move their whole POAP collection to another account. That's another thing that I've been wondering about, like possibly POAP. I don't know if that would need to be a POAP feature or just like a general feature for people to do, but it's another reason why I could see transferring POAPs to still be useful.
Yeah. That
Hey,
does
and
make
some
sense.
people like to buy and trade them too.
And that's, yeah, I don't think that's wrong. And so without going deeply into what the Soulbound paper is, you really should look, Google for Vitalik and Soulbound, and you can read what he wrote recently. To say very simply, it is a potential plan to create NFTs that cannot be moved to a different account. And with that idea, imagine that you could be issued a POAP that is forever linked to that private key. It's just an idea, but it is
If
something
I'm
that has a lot of.
Hey, Superfizz. So the way I'm interpreting that kind of situation is for uses like passports and things that are directly like it has to be for that person and should not be moved. So I can, and I don't know if that's the full intention, but that is like, I think the best use of that type of NFT is something that you would not want it to be sold or moved or couldn't be legally.
Yeah, I agree. It's POAP gets in this gray area of where on one hand you never want it to be moved, and then on another hand, maybe sometimes you want to move it. We know people who are farming POAPs are probably not doing it because again, we're all farmers to some extent. I farm POAPs because I love them in my personal collection. But it's likely there are other people who are farming them because they think at some point they're going to have financial value to them. And so there just becomes a lot of gray area of interpretation for how they're valuable. Like, are they personally valuable or are they financially valuable? I'm going to read the next question. Go ahead.
Just on that, when you talk about you as a POAP farmer, I mean, I think like farming in my mind has, as you're saying, like really has to do with intent in addition to like not just like collecting. So you could be a farmer in the sense that like you like to collect POAPs, but I wouldn't consider you a farmer because your intent is like to collect the POAP and like also participate like in the event, at least to a certain extent. So I just want to like draw a line there because I wouldn't consider you a POAP farmer, so to speak. Although
Well,
you
so
do like to collect POAPs.
it's really the meaning of the word. Like if I love Logic Beach. Logic Beach actually put up a meme image of the honest farmer meme surrounded by POAPs, and like yeah, that's what I do. Like I look for opportunities to get POAPs and I collect them. Just because I'm not doing it for financial gain or I'm not doing it like for some other reason. Like I still think I'm a POAP farmer, just in a different kind of way than than a negative way we might characterize someone.
Superphiz,
I'm
you're
okay
not a
with
farmer, you're a passionate collector.
Oh, that's right. I'm a passionate collector.
I agree. I totally agree. I think farming is you have multiple wallets and you're trying to get as many as possible of
Oh,
one.
now
Yeah,
Like
that's
multiples
good.
farming
of
is like
one, not
you.
multiples of multiples. That's okay.
That's a good
So
idea.
yeah, farming is like you've created 15 different ETH wallets and like are claiming POAPs from the same POAP website to like 100 automatically generated email addresses, which believe it or not is something that people do.
No, yeah,
Superphiz,
and
unless you started getting into that.
all of my wallets for that are very separate from Superphiz, so I do not think that they will ever bleed over. So I think that I'm safe there.
Gotcha.
You know, that said
Uh,
about buying POAPs, this is my $1 million question for the POAP team because I'm trying to get as far back in time as I can. I would like to buy the very first POAP. I would like even to see a picture of the very first POAP ever created. Like I'm trying to do research and get people on Twitter to send forth their oldest POAP to see how far back can it go. So that would be fun if you guys have that. I'm just curious to see it.
We do. I'm pretty sure I can actually. I'm trying to see if I can construct the URL that would take you
that
there.
wouldn't be difficult at all. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
it wouldn't be
That would
difficult
be
like
really
at
cool
all.
to see.
Give me a minute. Give me like 2 minutes, guys. So let's
We're all
see.
doing it. Well, I bet the first one's not going to be available, but because that would have to be a test or something.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that it would be for sale, but like, I guess what Dr. Malachi seems to be speaking to is that he'd like to like even.
Denver. I'm looking. It's an
It would
Denver
100% be. Yeah, it would 100% be East Denver.
one.
But let's.
15th of February 2019. Let's see who has it. We're gonna make an offer. I'll post this.
Yep,
I'm sure
it's
someone else
East
has already
Denver,
posted it.
15th of February 2019. God, that's beautiful. So
And
it
the holder
belongs
only has
to-
like four POAPs. Anyway,
So I need to see if he wants to sell it.
I will confess, when I first became interested in POAP, probably 2 years ago, I wanted an early POAP, and so I went and bought a DEFCON 4 POAP, and I think it's like less than 1,000 or whatever the token ID. But now I feel really weird about it because, like, I didn't go. It's neat to have it, but people would look at if you look through my POAP gallery, you're like, oh, Fizz went to DEFCON 4. And I didn't, and I feel a little like weird about that.
Imposter.
Yeah, it is. Like if I don't have enough imposter syndrome there, I'm really an imposter.
Hey,
That is actually a perfect first POAP, though. That design is beautiful. Like, how perfect.
Before I met Logic Beach, I bought one of the upgrade POAPs on OpenSea, and then like later on we met each other, and I was like, oh, I think I know your name, and then I looked in OpenSea and I had bought it from him.
That was one of my favorite interactions with someone that I met online first, and then in person later. Like, wait, I bought your POAP. That was hilarious.
Yeah, and I gave it back.
On that note, on the note of transferring POAPs,
go ahead.
I just have a quick open question. On the note of transferring POAPs, like I feel like that could possibly be a UI feature on the POAP scan for like showing if this was the original owner that it was issued to or not, because then that way you can kind of understand. And so maybe like buying a POAP is not something that you need to be ashamed of, but it's just like a cool way to show that you support this event, but you weren't there. I don't know.
No, I think it's totally valid.
All right, so we have a bunch of these questions on Slido, and I do have a strong commitment to us working through these because this is one of the best ways for people to submit questions and have them answered publicly. In the future, if POAP project wants to form a DAO, can we use the POAPs we have as a voting right or not? And before I ask Isabel for answer for this, I'm going to say that farming has had a significant impact on the value of POAPs that we hold, because many POAPs for a broad period don't actually reflect individual holders. And now I'll let someone else hop in and answer that too.
I have an interesting perspective on this one. I actually talked to a lawyer because, looking at doing some DAO stuff, and they actually encourage, instead of having a token, using NFTs. So just sharing, like, as anything consideration, not speaking on behalf of POAP, is DAO related, and this is not legal advice, but NFTs seem like they possibly might not be categorized as a security. So a lot of times that's like becoming the go-to digital image on the blockchain to have potential patronage to a DAO. Say that with a lot of caveats, and that's, do your own research is what I would say.
Yeah,
And I think
that
that
falls
POAP
into the realm of we don't know a lot of
vote.
things.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
And POAP vote, I think, really helps to, yes, you could use that. And again, because it's a little challenging to transfer, that's helpful, maybe. But from a legal perspective, just to point what Tap just said, a lot of this is unsettled. So you can't say for sure that NFTs won't be seen as a security at some point. So just keep that in the back of your mind.
Interesting. So we have about 3 minutes left, and I heard through the back channel that the Squanch, who I call the Squanch, because I'm a Rick and Morty fan, and his username is not a Rick and Morty username, that he has an announcement or a notice. What do you have, Squanch?
Yeah, so just to introduce myself a bit more here, guys. I am the customer success manager for POAP. And that means that if you have interacted with us on the little chat bubble system on any of our web pages, there's a good chance you spoke with me or one of my team. So I just wanted to kind of announce that we do have a lot of job openings available right now, like POAP wide. But in particular, we are looking for some customer success users as well to work on that system. So if you have a lot of experience with POAP and you understand a lot of the various distribution methods and side platforms that we offer, I would love if you guys would submit some applications and we can take a look at them for sure. That's all.
Awesome.
The Squanch, where can people submit applications?
Oh, yes. The most important part. So
That's the really important part. You need to let everyone know.
The most important, yes. Careers.poap.xyz. That's the URL. I'll put it in the chat here. And should I go ahead and pin that as well?
Yeah, sure.
I think let me see if I can put that in some kind of the announcements, maybe, or something like that.
Okay.
Or if you're able to do that, please do that.
I will post. Yeah.
I'm going to say this kind of thing I say anytime that there is a job posting. All of us suffer from some level of imposter syndrome, and that's that feeling where you're like, everyone else is better at this than I am. I don't know enough about this, or someone more qualified is going to get this job. I really encourage you to set that aside just for a minute. It doesn't hurt to apply for a job. And sure, there's a 99% likelihood that it's not right, but by never putting your name in the hat, you're never going to know if you might be the person who's right for the job. And so it's just that encouragement to acknowledge we all feel like imposters sometimes. And it's okay. Like, we're still doing great. We can still do good things, and we can still participate in community. So
yeah,
that was my PSA.
Just to add on to that, I started off by just hanging out in this Discord in the help channel, and I kind of got familiar with the various distribution methods just playing around on my own. And then to help Puria out, I would just start answering questions on there. So after doing that for a couple of weeks, I just reached out and I was able to get a position here. So it doesn't take, an absolute veteran to do this. Kind of try and shrug off that imposter syndrome and take a leap for sure.
Hey, the Squanch. are there curator spots still open? I noticed that was posted maybe a month or two ago at this point. I just saw that it was still there on the first page.
I believe so, but Isabel might be able to speak to that a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the curation team, it was a team established about, nearly 3 weeks ago now. And they're trying to kind of settle into a particular workflow. So I think the curator spots right now that are open, we are definitely going to be interviewing and looking to bring more people onto that team. The matter of timing, I think, is a slightly different question. I think we might be looking to let everything settle down until, call it post-ETH Denver, before onboarding new people, because hiring 5 people in 1 week is frankly an insane thing to do, and it's what we did, but we need to do something else now.
Understood. Now I'm going to humbly recommend you hire Brits and ETH as a curator. She's awesome and loves POAP. Anyways,
Love that. Guys,
Shameless
by the
plug.
way, applying for working at POAP, showing us your POAP collection is an absolute prerequisite. If you don't have a good one, that's one of those issues for us.
That is the most awesome thing I've ever heard. I love that.
I swear-
Web3.
I have dealt with Patricio for a couple of years now, and I promise you, anytime we run across a new person, his literal first question is going to be, "What's in their POAP wallet?" Without a doubt, every time. It's
Guys,
very funny.
just FYI, I've got to hop off, but it was a pleasure hanging out with you all. I'm hopefully going to be able to make some time to see you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, we appreciate you. And we're about to end the formal recording. If Mr. Mojo will take care of that, and we're going to switch into the second hour.